you to Nicole Halsey, who is facilitating our panel session. Nicole is wearing a number of hats today, clearly invisible. As a sponsor of the event, a representative of the Premier's Climate Change Council, and an urban and regional planner with specialities in climate change planning, NRM planning, and stakeholder and community engagement. Nicole works with state and local government and not-for-profit sector, assisting organisations and the wider community to think about and plan for climate change. Nicole?
This is always a challenge for me when I come to these events, so that you can actually see me over the podium. Not that that really matters. Thank you very much for having me here today. As Rowan's indicated, I am wearing a couple of hats, and I've just been asked to speak a little bit on that before I introduce our eminent speakers to my right. First of all, I was going to touch on the Premier's Climate Change Council. So the Premier's Climate Change Council was established in 2008 under the Climate Change and Greenhouse Emissions Reduction Act. And really the role of the council is to provide independent advice to the Minister regarding about reducing greenhouse gas emissions and also about adapting to climate change. A key part of that council is also about engaging with various sectors across our community, business, environmental, industry, etc. But engaging with them about what are the issues associated with climate change. The Climate Change Council is comprised of 10 members, and I think there's a couple of others in the room today, because of Prue and Verity Saunders is here as well. It's chaired by Bruce Carter, and people are appointed, I guess, representing a range of sectors, including state and local government, business, environmental, conservation and scientific communities. So I came to the council, I was appointed in 2011, and since that time we've been undertaking a range of work, and I thought I'd just quickly touch on a couple of the initiatives that we've been undertaking. I think when I came into the council, a new approach, not to say my approach, but from how the previous council operated, it decided to change the way in which the council conducted its discussions, whereby we now have roundtable discussions where a range of people are invited in, and we talk around what are the issues and opportunities, and then what does that mean in terms of advice back into government. And so that's been a really useful process for us to engage widely with a range of representatives across a range of sectors on different issues and opportunities, and then take that information and say, okay, what is it as a council that perhaps we should be and can influence across South Australia. So just a couple of initiatives that have been progressed today include the environmental upgrade finance. Some of you may have heard about that, but essentially that's a process which assists building owners, particularly focused at the moment in the Adelaide City Council area, but hopefully extending at some point to broader metropolitan Adelaide. Essentially, commercial building owners being able to access a form of finance which sits with the building and enables environmental aspects of that building to be upgraded so it can perform in a more environmentally sustainable way. We've also been progressing an initiative called Climate Smart Precincts, which is around thinking about how do we get broader climate smart planning and cross-border development areas happening, and considering what some of those intractable problems might be across different sectors, not just planning, urban land use planning type aspects, but thinking about energy provision, how you engage the community, and more into those different aspects in that. And we're now about to move on to our next issue, which is around thinking about sea level rise, where our focus is around adaptation planning, moving into the next sort of subcommittee phase. And we're focusing in on sea level rise and thinking about how we can facilitate adaptation along our coast in response to some of the issues that we know are facing us. And I think there's a number of people in the room today who are likely to be invited to attend that discussion. So in addition to that role on the council, I guess my other role is as a director at URPS, and I've been fortunate enough to be involved in a range of climate change adaptation style planning projects in South Australia. Most recently we started the Resilient South project, which is incredibly exciting for us because it's a really new, it's another cap off the rank in South Australia. It's about the third, I think, after Western Adelaide and the Central region. But essentially a process which is really trying to bring together the social and scientific and physical aspects of adaptation, and so it's a very exciting process. And in addition to that, thinking about some of the aspects that our previous panellists talked about around land use planning policy, for example, in horticultural areas, how can we write better planning policy that allows the flexibility to enable adaptation moving into the future. That's just a little bit about me. And I just wanted to finish on this quote, and it's really inspiring to me the fact that a number of speakers today have already mentioned the aspect of how important people are to adaptation planning. And really that's my key interest in this area, and where I bring, when I think about how I'm going to approach this subject matter, I think about how central people's values and attitudes are in driving and being part of decision making so we actually take action. This quote comes from the NCUF conference last year by Professor Dave Briggs from Monash University, but essentially it says to me, some 20 years ago, if people thought if you got the science right and shouted it loudly enough, people would just get on board and take action. And a number of people who've spoken today have basically said, we've got the science, we think we know what's going to happen, but we're still not doing enough and we're not moving in that direction enough, although we're now gathering momentum. But really what this quote says is, it's people's values and attitude, and it's their participation in these processes that is most likely going to make us resilient and adaptive moving forward, and that's really speaks very loudly to me. So, on that note, I'd like to introduce our panel members to my right. So first of all, we've got Dr. Caecilia Ewenz. Caecilia is a meteorologist with more than 25 years of experience. She was awarded a doctorate in natural sciences from Pullen University for her work on cloud development. Her interests have ranged from studies into the effects that different land surfaces have on the weather through to the application of supercomputers to weather forecasting. Since 2002, she's a part-time lecturer at Flinders University in Meteorology and Environmental Sciences. She has supervised honours and postgraduate students' theses in the areas of soil evaporation, fog propagation, modelling of sea breezes, convection over tropical islands, and statistical precipitation relationships in respect to the large-scale climate patterns in South Australia. So welcome, Caecilia. Caecilia will be followed by Dr. Jackie Balston. Jackie is an applied climatologist and has researched the impacts of climate variability and climate change on agriculture, natural resources, ecosystems and the built environment in Western Australia, South Australia and Queensland for over 15 years. She is currently Senior Research Fellow at Uni of South Australia and Director of Jacqueline Balston Associates Climate Change Impact Consultants. Welcome, Jackie. Now we've slightly swapped up the order of appearance, and hopefully Wasim has informed you of this. So Stephen's going to be Associate Professor Stephen Pullen will be speaking third. Stephen started his career as a materials scientist in the UK, carrying out research and development into new construction materials and processes. Sorry, I've gone the wrong way, haven't I?
I'm last.
You're last. That's what you just said, didn't you? Apologies. I'm going to swap. Wasim is swapping to third place. Professor Wasim Saman will speak third. Professor Saman is Professor of Sustainable Energy Engineering at the Barbara Hardy Institute at the University of South Australia. His career is focused on sustainable energy education and industry-targeted research since the 1980s. He has published over 180 technical articles and supervised 26 postgraduate research candidates. He received the Pioneer Award from the World Renewable Energy Network in 2012. He is currently leading projects focusing on solar thermal electricity generation and storage being carried out through the Australian Solar Thermal Research Initiative. He is also a research leader in the CRC for low carbon living, focusing on integrated building systems with the aim of leading the transition to zero energy buildings. He is currently leading a national project developing a framework for adapting Australian households to heatwaves funded by the National Climate Change Adaptation Research Facility. And finally, Associate Professor Stephen Pullen. Stephen started his career as a materials scientist in the UK, carrying out research and development into new construction materials and processes. He is currently the head of the Construction and Project Management discipline at the University of South Australia. Stephen is involved in a number of research initiatives, including the ARC Linkage Project, Reconsidering Sustainable Building and Design, a Cultural Change Approach, as well as the NCAR Project, Design Options for Heatwaves. His research interests include the sustainability of buildings, life cycle energy analysis, embodied energy of buildings, and the urban environment. So welcome, Stephen. So, can I now invite Caecilia?